Hi there. My name is Anand DeForest, and this is good news about the world falling apart. The good news about the world falling apart right now is these are the birth pangs of the third turning, the third major shift in consciousness that human beings have undergone since they developed fire and language and stopped being animals. Even though, of course, we are animals, and that's another story. So, ancient turnings, right? Ancient paradigm shifts. And again, paradigm shift rolls off the tongue. It's used in advertising. A lot of new age people say, I just had a paradigm shift. A true paradigm shift looks insane to the members of the previous paradigm. It looks crazy. It looks dangerous. It looks like it could kill you. And people are often very, very upset when purveyors of a new paradigm show up on the scene. Just look at what happened to the Alvarez team, father and son, who first came up with the idea that what wiped out the dinosaurs was a huge meteorite that landed in the Yucatan about 60 million years ago. And it upset the apple cart. Up to that point, the predominant paradigm of geology and evolutionary biology is things happen very, very slowly over time. The idea that this one meteorite hitting the Earth could have caused the extinction of all dinosaurs like that. Well, it didn't kill them like that. Meteorite hit. Apparently, in the Gulf of Mexico, apparently it kicked up a tidal wave 2 miles high. But before it did that, it sent out a fire shock. Apparently, a Triceratops browsing in Alberta, Canada, would have been vaporized within seconds of the meteorite hitting. That's how much energy was released. And that was followed by a 2-mile high tidal wave that swept over most of North America. But the real kicker was the nuclear winter that followed. So many particles in the atmosphere that there was a frost on most of the planet every month of the year. Within about 4 or 5 years, there was no animal on Earth bigger than a housecat. Keep in mind that dinosaurs, thunder lizards, animals as big as school buses, and railroad locomotives had been rumbling unimpeded across the planet for almost 200 million years. And in the course of an afternoon, the seeds of their annihilation were planted and came to fruition within 4 or 5 years. End of the dinosaurs. Boom. And again, ironically, what conclusively proved this theory of the Alvarez brothers was the oil companies digging core samples all the way across the Gulf of Mexico. And they found the kind of shattered, crystallized rock that only happens when a big meteorite hits. And they found that the epicenter of it was just off the shore of the Yucatan Peninsula. And they did the calculations, and yes, it would have released enough energy to do everything the Alvarez brothers said. But for the 10 or 15 years it took for that kind of hard science to catch up with the theory of the Alvarez, they were subjected to the most horrible, even threats on their lives, but they were impugned with the most horrible insults. I mean, you would have thought that they engaged in bestiality and child sex and everything horrible you can imagine, judging from the tone of the letters from other geologists. That's what a paradigm shift looks like. When you try to suggest something that suggests a whole new way of looking at the world, of understanding evolutionary biology, of understanding geology, that's how upset scientists got. They wanted to kill the Alvarezes. They thought they were insane, right? The way you know it's a paradigm shift is it's deeply, deeply disturbing. Really, really threatening. The solution is not going to come from a nice, comfortable, like, oh, science will figure it out. AI will figure it out. A faster machine, a faster computer. None of those things are getting any of our world planetary problems closer to a solution. Now, again, we can go into despair, or we can say, just like those Tiktaalik said, you know, this old method I was taught, getting oxygen out of water, ain't working. It ain't working. I got to try something new. Right? Don't go into despair. Don't bury your head in the sand. Don't get angry. Start finding a solution. And the beautiful thing is, because we are homo sapiens, one who knows, because we are shamans, we have the superpower of imagination and intuition. So going back to that very meteorite strike, right, that the Alvarez brothers theorized about and took incredible raft loads of shit for almost 20 years about, and now is taught matter-of-factly in school. And that's another feature of paradigm shifts. They're super upsetting at first, and then they're accepted as completely obvious, right? Things like making fire, using language to communicate, planting a seed, right? These were all radical, crazy paradigm shifts that our ancestors argued about, debated about, probably killed each other over until they became, this is what's going to save our bacon. Now, keep in mind, there were mammals 66 million years ago, but they were tiny. They were vulnerable. They were afterthoughts. They were flavor bursts for velociraptors. They were the weakest, and they had this crazy idea, right? You look after your young, and they had this crazy technology. They warmed their own blood. Reptiles need sun to get warm. When it gets cold, they get slow, and eventually they die. Mammals, not so much. They could control their own temperature. They could handle temperature fluctuations much better than dinosaurs could. They took care of their young. Reptiles, by and large, lay an egg, and that's it. Maybe they'll bury it and give it a little help, but that's it. You're on your own, pal. Again, worked fine when the conditions have remained the same for almost 200 million years, but in times of rapid change, rapid temperature fluctuations, no good. So all of a sudden, in this period of very short years, mammals went from being the newest, most untested, most vulnerable animals on the planet to having some game-changing features that really gave them the edge when there's a winter every month of the year. It happened in Vermont in the 1800s. There was a huge volcano, Tambora, I think it was. And it sent so many particles into the atmosphere that in Vermont, in the northern latitudes, there was a frost every month of the year. In Vermont, it was called 1800 and starved to death, or 1800 and froze to death, because you germinate seeds in May when you usually did, there was a frost and it killed them. So you tried again in June, there was a frost and it killed them. You tried again in July, again, you see where I'm going with this. They couldn't grow any food. And people froze to death in June. There's one poor schmo that was coming back from the tavern, completely lit, fell on the ground, passed out. They found him frozen to death in the morning in June. Crazy. So imagine that over the whole planet for 5 years. Think of what the population would be after those conditions, right? You can't grow anything. You can only eat what's able to grow, and very little can grow. So you better have very small appetites. Again, mammals, perfect for the job. Now, fast forward 60 million years, all right? Who are the thunder lizards today? Who are the most terrifying animals alive? Who make all other animals, except for the occasional apex predator, right? A Bengal tiger or a grizzly bear generally do not run from humans. But everybody else, they're gone. They know how scary we are, right? I mean, imagine 60 million years from the tiniest little helpless flavor bursts to the most terrifying animal on the planet that holds that same planet in a death grip. That meteorite strike, although it was very bad for the dinosaurs, was like a cosmic affirmative action program for mammals because we run the planet today. So the key question is, who are the dinosaurs now? What entities or organisms require enormous, predictable sources of energy to survive? Remember, the brontosauruses, the tyrannosauruses counted on unlimited vegetation, unlimited animals smaller than them to eat. Who requires unbroken supply chains? Who requires an unending flow of capital? Corporations and nation states. COVID-19 gave us a little taste of what happens when those supply chains are disrupted. It almost crashed the American economy. And COVID-19 is an epidemic. I mean, you want to talk about an epidemic, you should see what the first white people's smallpox and mumps did to the Native Americans. We're talking 80-90% mortality. Black Plague back in the Middle Ages, 33% mortality. COVID, it didn't even have a 1% mortality rate. I mean, it was like having your grandmother over, but look what it did to the planet, how much fear it put us in, what it did to supply chains. That is a preview of coming attractions. When the supply chains are disrupted, it will kill corporations. It will kill nation states, who are effectively the dinosaurs of today. Billionaires, corporations, nation states move through the world like Tyrannosaurus. They're unstoppable, they're unbeatable, not if you disrupt their supply chains. The current mass extinction event we're in the beginning of the third turning, the beginning of a mass extinction, just like what wiped out 75% of fish 400 million years ago, just what wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. The big animals are going to die, And only the little animals, small groups of mammals hardwired to care for their young with low requirements, are going to be the survivors. And that's where the third turning is going to come from. The evolution will not be televised, my friends, although I'm trying to televise it right here. It's in your heart. It's in your closest friends in small groups. So that's good news to my mind, because we all have some friends. We all have a heart. Thanks so much for listening. My name's Anand DeForest. This is good news about the world falling apart. Be sure to like, check out other episodes, and tell your friends. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.